As I sat in the cockpit for the first time, a mix of excitement and nerves coursed through me. Today was my first day as a pilot, and I was determined to make it unforgettable. I took a deep breath, glancing at my co-pilot, Mark, who gave me an encouraging nod. We were set to fly a small charter plane over the Pacific, a routine trip that should have been straightforward. But as we climbed into the clouds, turbulence rattled the aircraft. The controls fell off, and I struggled to maintain stability. Just when I thought we'd leveled out, a loud bang echoed through the cabin, and the instruments went haywire. Before I could react, the plane began to plummet. Panic surged as I fought to regain control, but it was too late. We crash-landed on a beach, the impact jarring and violent. When I finally opened my eyes, everything was quiet except for the sound of the waves lapping at the shore. Groaning, I pulled myself from the wreckage, surveying the damage. Mark was already outside, helping the few passengers who survived. We checked for injuries, and thankfully, everyone was okay, physically at least. But we were stranded on an unknown island, miles from civilization. As we gathered our thoughts, I noticed something moving in the trees. Shapes darted between the shadows, and unease settled over the group. We were not alone. Night fell quickly, and a chilling silence enveloped us. Suddenly, piercing war cries erupted from the jungle. A group of figures emerged, wild and primal, adorned with feathers and bone jewelry. Their eyes were fierce, and they held crude weapons. "Get back!" I shouted, instinctively stepping in front of the passengers. Mark grabbed my arm, urging me to retreat. But it was too late. The tribe charged at us, their intentions clear. We turned to run, sprinting into the dense foliage, adrenaline surging. We stumbled through the underbrush, hearts racing. I could hear the tribe closing in, their shouts echoing around us. We ducked behind a large tree, breathless and terrified, hoping they wouldn't find us. "We need a plan," Mark whispered, glancing around for anything that could help. I nodded, my mind racing. We had to figure out how to survive. After a few tense moments, we decided to head toward a nearby hill, hoping for a better vantage point. As we climbed, the sounds of the tribe faded, and we paused to catch our breath. But as we reached the top, we saw their fires in the distance, illuminating the darkness. "What do we do now?" one of the passengers asked, panic evident in her voice. "We need to find shelter and food," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "If we can stay hidden until morning, we can figure out how to signal for help." As we made our way back down, I couldn't shake the feeling of being hunted. The jungle was alive with sounds, and every rustle sent chills down my spine. We found a small cave, barely large enough for all of us to fit. Inside, we huddled together, hearts pounding. I glanced at Mark, who looked just as terrified as I felt. "We'll get through this," I whispered, though I wasn't sure if I believed it. Just as we began to settle, the sounds of chanting filled the air. The tribe had found our trail, and their voices grew louder, more frenzied. My stomach dropped. We had to move again. "We can't let them catch us," I urged. "Let's try to find higher ground and wait until daylight." As we slipped out of the cave, the moon illuminated our path. We navigated through the trees, but I could hear the tribe's chants closing in. My heart raced. Every shadow felt alive. Every sound echoed my fears. Finally, we reached a clearing. I spotted the remnants of our plane in the distance, half buried in sand. It was a sign of hope, a reminder of our former lives. But before I could voice my thoughts, a scream pierced the night. The tribe had found us. Panic surged again as we sprinted back toward the jungle, desperate for cover. I felt the weight of my failure crushing down on me. I was supposed to be their pilot, their protector. Instead, I had led us into a nightmare. As we darted into the trees, I vowed that I wouldn't let fear dictate our fate. I would find a way to survive this, to escape the island and its forgotten people. But for now, we were trapped, and the fight for our lives had only just begun.